Welcome back. For What Works team, we are pleased to have Team Portugal with us here today. Portugal is consistently improving students' learning outcomes, fresh approaches, and innovative teaching practices. And we hope that by looking at the way successful schools work outside of Dubai, we can move a step closer to achieving national agenda goals in our schools. If you are not yet part of this exciting initiative, please do sign up to a country by approaching a KHDA team member after the session today. Please join me in welcoming Team Portugal to the stage. Dr. Ashok Kumar from Indian High School, Ms. Klemi from Dera Private School, Ms. Rashmi from Delhi Private School, Ms. Dolly from Star International Private School, Ms. Tracy from King's Naddashiba, and Mr. Joseph from Lycée Libanese.
Morning to all of you. Could we have the auditorium light so that we could have some sort of eye contact with the audience? That looks better. And could you switch off those lights because they're sort of... Could you switch off those lights? Thank you. Now we are able to see each other. A couple of months back, KSDA wrote to us that this is Team Portugal and you're part of Lighthouse. We had not met except one or two. Could you switch off that, please? We don't want to be in the limelight, we want to be in the lighthouse. It's sort of coming in our eyes, piercing our eyes, so. And we formed a group. I'm grateful to my group that all of them were an inspirational leader, a great motivator. They all came forward and the story began. The first meeting was somewhere in June last year, where two of us, Mr. Joseph and myself, met because all of them were, other team members were in the mood of summer break. We visited Portuguese embassy in Abu Dhabi, and they gave us a lot of data for research. That was our first step. The brainstorming session started, and that's how Team Portugal began. Agenda for the day is introduction of Portugal education system and performance in PISA, leadership reforms in Portugal, reforms in relationship to teachers, reforms in relationship to students, assessment and evaluation reforms. We have tried to cover everything. However, the story and the research would not be complete unless you all participate and support us that this is missing, this is how we can achieve. And we would look forward from the input at the end of the session in the form of Q&A. We'll try to answer more number of Q&As, but wherever we are not, someone from audience can also join us on the stage to answer those Q&A or email it to us and we'll answer it. How the journey began? These are my members which has already been introduced to all of you, and would you believe those who are not present today, they are having inspection. So it was 100% attendance throughout, but those who are not present, they are having KSD inspection, that is why, and we all represent them today in one form or the other. Objectives of the team: understanding the education reforms in Portugal and how they contributed to the improvement of Portugal performance in PISA. It was a case study of Portuguese. It was just a case study. Networking and building relationship. Here we are, you can ask. We'll tell you how we met, how many times we met, and now we know each other. And just a thought came before entering that let's not end over here, let's continue to meet, and we will continue to meet after this also. Learning from each other, sharing of the best practices. These were the objectives which we kept in place before we started the Team Portuguese meetings. What the team did: meetings, professional development program, and of course an innovative idea, inter-school football tournament we have started. And while I'm speaking, one of the tournaments, the children are playing in one of the schools. So it was not only the networking of the leaders or the teachers, but also of the students. The students are playing. Could I request one of my friends to speak about the football?
Oh yeah, I'm a good example here. My school is a very small school, they're a private school. We didn't have a football team. In fact, we haven't represented on a inter-school level as yet until Team Portugal happened. So we were able to put together a team of 16 students, and the children have a game today, and they are so excited. So for us, this is the beginning. Thank you.
So the success story has already begun. The students are networking through football. So sports are great team builders, as we all say. Next. Total number of PD program, professional development 2. Total number of PD sessions 6. Total number of participants 45. So amongst 11 schools, 45 participants, that is master trainers, were trained for improving education in their schools. Total number of hours 10. So 10 hours were spent on training. The topics were critical thinking in early years, which was done at Delhi Private School, differentiation in early schools, Dera Private School, child-led learning by King's Dubai, reading for understanding North American International School, differentiation Sheffield Private School, developing questions, skills, Little Flower School. So all of us carried out a PD program for our teachers. Next, please. Now, 9 schools out of 11 are participating in football tournament. Primary girls under 12, primary boys under 12, secondary girls under 16, secondary boys under 16. Total number of teams 14, total number of matches 11. So a new beginning has been made in the form of football by the Portuguese team. We met 4 times. Total number of meetings 18 hours. Total number of attendees in these 4 meetings were 32. So that is a networking that happened. Programs and outcome, meetings of heads of the members of school, awareness of educational reforms in schools, professional development programs of teachers of member schools, sharing of best practices amongst team members. Football tournament among member schools, networking and relationship building. Next, please. Now I'll hand over the mic to my colleague, Ms. Clemmy.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok. Thank you. I don't think I need that. Hi. As explained, I'm going to be speaking to you about the education system in Portugal and their PISA results. Their education system. They begin, as we all do, with the early years. And in Portugal, they have developed curriculum framework guidelines wherein the 3- and 4-year-olds are given voluntary, however free education in the pre-primary program. The 5-year-olds have to attend compulsory education in their pre-primary or primary programs. We move on to our children in the secondary school. The upper secondary school, it is a 3-year program and broken down into 4 strands. The sciences, the humanities, the artistic, and your vocational training. The vocational training is very big in Portugal because it ties in with the needs of the labor market. And this is available only to those children who have completed at least 9 years of school. And then the tertiary, which is your programs in the universities and in the polytechnic institutions. Now PISA. PISA results in maths, reading and science. Just to put things into perspective, the lower averages are in numbers of 200s and the higher averages are in numbers of 600s. So you will see from these numbers that Portugal is in the higher 400s. However, we want to see the journey they've had since 2003, and they have consistently improved because of the reforms and other systems in place in Portugal. So those are the numbers in maths, those are the numbers in reading, and science. Now we're going to look at the percentages of children achieving level 2 and below and level 5 and above. If you see the numbers in red, those numbers have consistently reduced, which means their below average performers numbers have reduced, whereas the numbers in green are their level 5s and above, and those have consistently improved. So those are the numbers for maths, in reading, and in science. The key issues that Portugal faces, what are their challenges? We're looking at 3. One is to ensure that all students complete their compulsory education, increasing attainment rates in tertiary education, which is the challenge for all of us, and offering equality and inclusive program for students that meet with the labor market needs. So what have they done about it? One of my team members will speak about this more in depth later. However, I'm just going to point out a few. They're looking at equality and quality, fair practices to ensure that everybody has been given a chance to achieve. Prepare students for life. I keep saying that again and again. They want to make sure that their children are getting the education that will meet with their labor market needs. Fostering leadership and training. They want to be able to ensure that the leaders are given the right guidance in order to create learning environments for school improvement. And finally, their evaluation systems, their assessment strategies. They want to build integrated systems which will then lead into improving outcomes for their students. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Rashmi from Delhi Private School, and I'm here to talk about leadership reforms in Portugal and how Portugal has recognized, like the rest of the world, that leadership in schools is key to improving student learning. So in 2008, the government changed the selection process and responsibilities for the school leadership. So earlier, one teacher was elected by her peers, but now they are professionally selected and accountable, and the authority is also clearly defined, and as well as the responsibilities. So it's quite like what we have in Dubai. And specialized mandatory training for school leaders is compulsory from 2012. And the school director has been given greater authority and autonomy. Also, there is collaboration with other school leaders, and schools are grouped together who have a collective management system, so that there are some shared practices, all of which strengthens school leadership. The principal is seen in a dual role. One role is that of a manager, so he manages the human resources, and it is administrative. And the second role is that of a leader, so he is in the public service of education. So this is the big picture, he is visionary, he is futuristic, and he is seen as the agent of change. Now, some success stories in Portugal have shown us leaders who used democratic distributive leadership, so everybody is given ownership and power. They are responsible for pupils' academic success. They promote dissemination of information, so they're communicative. And there is constant self-assessment, dialogue, and reflection. Also, they foster motivation and endeavor amongst teachers. And there is a focus on establishment of partnership with a variety of organizations. So community becomes important, the business world becomes important, and schools are no longer seen in isolation. The resources are used to be used innovatively and effectively, and that is one of the successes of good leadership. Also responsible for professional development of teachers, and for ensuring that parents are also committed towards the academic success of students. Focus of leadership for pupils is to foster a climate of belonging, to promote a rigorous school, and to promote good citizenship and a climate of dialogue and encouragement, and that equal opportunities are given to all students. Just to bring it back to the KHDA and the UAE government, they also recognize the importance of leadership, and one of the UAE agendas is to ensure that 100% of public schools have highly effective school leadership. And the KHDA has taken out a manifesto which has specific and stringent measures of recruitment for leaders. So the leader must have appropriate personal attributes, academic qualifications, professional experience, leadership skills and qualities, higher standards of education provision for students, and of course to achieve the UAE national targets for 2021. And as is in the framework of inspections, I'm not going to read it out because I think everybody is familiar with it, but all these attributes are a part of school leadership, the vision and relationships and etc. All the things that Portugal also did. So the UAE and the KHDA are on the right track, and I'm sure student learning will improve. And before I give the mic to my colleague, I would just like to say that it's been fantastic knowing all my colleagues, fellow principals here, and would particularly commend the leadership of Dr. Ashok Kumar, who has been key in keeping the team together, and with great vision and generosity has shared everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rashmi, for your kind words. It was the positive energy with my team members who always inspired through social media, through emails and through WhatsApp, that we all worked together, rather sometimes we ran also. I would now speak about the reforms undertaken for the teachers. In PISA 2020 school, better relations with the teachers than OECD average, and viewed their classrooms as conducive to learning at the OECD average. Reforms in relation to teachers too broad: teacher training, teacher evaluation. It's very important, CPD and teacher evaluation. Now what did Portuguese schools did? Teachers in Portugal most complete a 5 years pre-service teacher training program. Mind it, pre-service 5 years teachers training program. Includes a teacher practicum and requires a competitive entry examination. Before they are recruited, there is a competitive entry examination. They have compulsory continuous training and benefit from comparatively higher salaries. Higher salaries, continuous CPD, these are the important aspects of it. Several initiatives aim to strengthen the teaching profession, including more stringent admission conditions in teachers' education schools, reinforce scientific curricula in teachers' education, introduction of an evaluation exam for teachers. Teachers are continuously evaluated. Introduction of lifelong training framework for teachers so that their career progression takes place. If you see, the teachers are respected by giving them a professional training. Teachers are respected by giving them higher salary, and teachers have an edge to move in their career. Next, please. Teacher appraisal in Portugal, the nation teacher appraisal system mostly based on peer evaluation. It includes teaching standards, criteria, instrument for appraisal, and consequence on career progression. Peer evaluation. The system focused on accountability. Classroom observation in Portugal were only mandatory in specific cases such as obtain an excellent mark in the probationary year, or if the teacher received insufficient marks. So let's say outstanding or insufficient. Otherwise, classroom observations was not recommended or not encouraged in Portugal. A new model of national system of performance appraisals for teachers and schools was introduced. External, internal appraisals, it targets 3 dimensions, scientific and pedagogy. So you have to understand the teachers are being appraised on the 3 platforms. Participant in school life and relationship with community, community linkage, and getting involved in day-to-day school life, continuous training and professional development. If we see, in the end you'll see CPD is an important aspect for teachers, and that is what we did in our group, that when we saw that in the research that CPD is an important aspect to have the teachers move forward, we also formed a CPD and had CPD in our group also. Next, please. In short, Portugal introduced major reforms to strengthen the teaching profession at different career points, before entrance, during initial training, at entry to the profession, throughout their professional training, allow teachers to continue, improve, and progress. So if teachers are very well respected in Portugal, and that is the key word. Thank you. I'll give it to Dolly.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok. So good morning. My name is Ms. Dolly from Star International School, and you've already heard my colleagues tell you a lot about reforms in Portugal. Now, the reason we are telling you is we want to achieve our national agenda targets. When we as a group set out to do research, we gleaned a lot from it. That's not to say that we would copy Portugal all through. But if we can all gain snippets of information, and the reason we share what we discovered is for you to take those little snippets of information and apply it to your own school. And you will see that there are certain things that you will be listening to or seeing on the monitor that say, yes, I can. This is something I can do in my school. And that's what we are hoping. We are hoping for collaborative learning, not only among the students, but collaborative learning among all the schools. It's best practices that will take us forward. Before I start, I need to say that when the research was being done, I was not present. We had school inspections on, and you know how important those school inspections can be. So the research I'm going to read out now was done by my colleague, Ms. Sonia Mahajan, and she now has inspections, so I take over her part. So I'm not sure. Okay. So I'd like to talk about 5 reforms, and I hope that by listening to these 5 reforms, you will be able to glean something and take it forward to your own school. So one of the reforms was that education was made compulsory, which is always good in any country, from the age of 6 to the 18. And comprehensive schooling was made compulsory till the age of 15. Portugal also developed curriculum guidelines for preschool education. They did this in 2012, and they provided free, voluntary, pre-primary education for 3 to 4-year-olds, and they also made it compulsory for 5-year-olds in the primary education system to come to school. Before that, there was a lot of non-school or homeschooling being done in Portugal. These reforms helped to change that. Now, third reform, and that's something that I will discuss in detail with you because it's really something we can all learn from. The program to combat school failure and early school leaving. Now, this was introduced as late as 2012, and you will see that Portugal has made such a difference, and if they can do it, so can we. So this program about early school leaving, which was such a problem, it aims to support students who are at risk of dropping out, to reintegrate those who had already dropped out, and to strengthen the vocational training in the upper secondary education, because that's where the dropouts came through. Children who were in their teens and who were learning to exercise their own willpower. So the measures to prevent, and I did say I will discuss this in detail, so bear with me. The measures to prevent early school leaving included the following. They gave additional study time and more individualized target for those students who were at risk of failing their school year. And they also gave them the opportunity to finish the support course and give the exams later after the entire support was done for them. There was also the implementation of information systems to follow the schools and the students in real time, and to identify the need for individual support and to detect cases for potential school dropouts and academic failure. And though we think Dubai won't have school dropouts, we do. It's not as chronic as it was in Portugal, but it does happen. And these are the pitfalls that we need to look out for and we need to guide our parents with. So I'll move on now to the fourth reform that Portugal undertook, and there was an increase because of that. There was an increase of 33% in the inclusion of students with special needs in regular schools due to the government policies. Now, this is a subject that is very close to the heart of Dubai government, and with the unified framework that we have come out with this year for the inspections, the special education need has an area all to itself, and I think it's the best thing that we could have done this year, to include all children, no child left behind. And the fifth reform was individualized educational programs, still continuing with SEN, of course, individualized educational programs for children and youth with special education needs. This was started as far back in 2008, but it really took force by the time it was 2011 and was implemented strongly in 2012. And it provided, can I go back please? It provided specialized support for learning, medical, evaluation for SEN students in the regular schooling system. And that is what Dubai and now the entire UAE is aiming for, to put our children with special needs into mainstream schools, to give them a fighting chance to succeed, thereby raising the profile of all Dubai schools. And due to this targeted government intervention for the benefit of all students, Portugal has made major improvements across the PISA cycles in mathematics, reading and science. I'm sure they're aiming for higher ones, just as we are. We all are. We can never be stagnant. We need to go raise the bar slightly for ourselves as well. So the performance in Portugal in PISA 2012 was around the OECD average in mathematics, below the OECD average in reading and science. But just as Portugal pulled itself up, that's what we're doing in Dubai. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to take it personally, but as I walk up, the red lights are showing, which means speed up, Tracy, and don't dawdle. So I'm going to try and be as concise as I possibly can and try and give you a flavour of what Portugal have done with evaluation and assessment to raise student attainment. Everybody benefits from knowing how to be successful. And with a consistent approach, both at a school level and a national level, it gives everybody a standard to work to, and they know how to achieve it. The assessment and evaluation in Portugal operates at a 4-level system. So there is a school systems level, which operates nationally, and that's based around national testing, international testing, so your PISAs and the things that we've looked at today. There's a school level, and that's school self-evaluation, and that's really important for any school wherever you are in the world. It works out where children are, what their next steps are, and how to improve the attainment. Something that a school has brought in is an external evaluation, which I'll come to in a little while. Teacher performance is another layer within this, and also student performance with summative and formative approaches. In their efforts to raise attainment, Portugal have put all of these systems in place. So systems evaluation. What they're doing is they're monitoring students' attainment by saying how well the system works. And so this is benchmarking along the way, and that's all the national assessments, and that's all the international assessments. School evaluation. I've talked a little bit about this, but a school is expected to look at all 4 of those different levels of system, school, teacher, students. And because Portugal have brought in so many reforms in teacher training and appraisal and really up their game with that there's so much more confidence in teacher assessment and how teachers are using their knowledge within the classroom. And so that's a big part of school self-evaluation. The inspection process has been brought in Portugal, but it's not an inspection process that maybe we're familiar with here. It's done at a level where they come in and they challenge school self-evaluation. They don't go into classrooms, they don't go and see what's happening in the classroom. It's very much a, what's your school doing, what's the next steps, and challenging thinking of school leaders. They take place every 4 years. Okay, student assessment. And as I've touched on, we all know that a test is a snapshot of what a child can do and what a child understands. And with the reform of teacher appraisal, there's so much more confidence in teacher assessment. And so they're trying to find a balance now of summative assessment and valuing that between the formative assessment that raises attainment and the PISA and TIMS and raising attainment within them. Hopefully the balance will be there for the 2 of them. Hope I've been concise enough, and I'll pass the baton on.
Thank you. Okay, so now what is the message for us? What are we taking from here? We're going to look at 4 levels. First, we want to continue our journey in strengthening the leadership. That is the most important, because the leaders are the ones with the vision. Next, we want to benefit from CPD, continuous professional development. And as Dr. Ashok has already pointed out, we want to, as a team, Portugal, take this on and continuously meet with each other, learn from each other. Thirdly, specialized support for our children, especially the SEND students, so we can then have improved outcomes in all the internal assessments and our external assessments. And finally, encouraging evaluation systems, improved evaluation systems that will then help us track our progress, to keep check of where we are with the vision for the UAE National Agenda. Thank you.
So about 10 minutes, we'll take question and answer. We all will try to answer any questions. Looks like we have done a very good job. Can we have a mic over there, please? Just a mic, sir.
In relation to SEN students, a lot of SEN students can end up in mixed ability classrooms. Is there any plan to develop programs where they have individualized learning outside of the classroom?
Would anyone take this?
Are you referring to Dubai, or are you still referring to Portugal?
To Dubai, sorry.
To Dubai. Well, we're here to tell you what reforms Portugal made. And what Portugal did is, yes, they had within the classroom and mainstream education SEN children being taken in. They also had outside of classroom training. And we're hoping, I know that in my school this is what we do. As an SEN department, we look at the children within. If they need learning support, we give them learning support. We look at them attending most classes, but maybe doing 1 or 2 classes outside. The idea is to help the child to be the best they can. And if every school undertakes this and accepts the child for what the child can do and celebrates their successes, however small they are, then I think that these children will lead a better quality of life. That's the best I can give you.
That's fine, thank you.
I would invite you to my school. We have a learning center which has a lot of programs outside the school. You are cordially invited to visit after writing an email to Indian High School, which is next door, and we can share our programs with you.
Hello, I have a question, please. Just regarding the assessments. I found the information you gave us kind of like general regarding the assessment. I want to dig in more specifically in this part. You just told us like it was like the internal assessment that they're using, the formative, the balance between the formative and the summative assessment. But I want, if anybody like have like more information about that part, to give us like more in details in the assessment part specifically, what the Portugal exactly did.
They brought in national tests at different grades, and I've got probably a wodge of information regarding what each of those consist of. If you want to give me your email address, I can make sure that they get to you, because it's quite comprehensive, but I can certainly get them to you. Thank you.
Any other question? Yes, over there.
What about if we have gender gaps in the results?
Who will take that gender gap?
What if the external exams have gender gaps? Like male and female students, their results vary a lot. If there is a gap, huge gap between the results.
Yeah, we didn't go into that detail, sorry about it, but of course, we'll try to find out and send it across to KSD to share with. We didn't go into the gender gap detail. That was not the main focus of the agenda for us. Last question.
My question is just a simple one. Where is Portugal standing, rather, compared to the international, not benchmark, but yes, where does Portugal stand against the countries in PISA results?
It's slightly below the OECD.
All right. And of course, what ma'am had asked over here, if there are major differences between the boys and the girls.
Yeah, we didn't do that research, but they are doing very serious reforms, and that is what we studied is that they are on the path of progression.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear audience and colleagues, for being with us, and thank you, my colleagues, being part of the wonderful team, Portugal. Thank you very much.